breeds out there. How are you? Happy Saturday to you. My name is Latonya Martin, the one you know as Papa T, the chief representative of the rare breed community of West Africa fam. Today, on all these things, we shall be discussing something really interesting. And the person that is my guest today on the show, she's been on the show before. She's a multi resourceful person, multi gifted person. The last time she came to talk about education, and it was a fantastic episode that never grows old. It never gets old. And today, she is here to share something with us that she's really passionate about. And it's always interesting when you have friends who reinvent themselves, who after doing some things to a certain point, they'll be like, I want to try something new. I want to explore something new. And when they find their pathway into that something new, they want to help others to benefit from what they've discovered, the beauty of it. And that is why today I have with me, for the second time on all these things on West Africa FM, Dr. Latonya Martin. And she's the CEO of Bamboo Financial Services, a passionate financial literacy advocate, nurse practitioner, and nurse educator. With a commitment to empowering individuals and communities, Dr. Latonya specializes in helping people make informed financial decisions and help build a strong financial future. Tonya, it's nice to have you again on the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. And, I told you the last time you need to come again. And just when I saw you, Omani Fowoshi, Biodun Ani Fowoshi, all the way from Lagos, it's nice to have you on the show. Regina Lane, the wife of very, very amazing Lawrence Lane in the city of Maple Heights. I say hi to you on Instagram. Right now, we're on Facebook Live, we're on Instagram Live, we're on YouTube Live. So wherever you are, don't forget to drop in your comments, ask your questions, and of course, don't forget to share the video. Don't forget to share the broadcast. Tonya, it's been like a year since we had you last on the show. Yeah, it was 2024.
Wow.
It was October actually.
Wow.
When I was about to start designing the flyer for this show, I had to look for your picture, and I found out it was sometime early October
Wow, time
2024.
flies.
It flies, and I'm happy to have you on the show again to discuss financial literacy, more especially because in the Black communities, it is something that is missing
Yes.
to a large extent, especially among people of the lower income to mid income. This is something that I've personally researched and that I can talk about, from experience point
Yeah.
of view. But the thing is, what are some of the common financial challenges that are faced by the Black community
Yeah.
specifically?
Yeah. So, what I've learned is, first of all, what we teach each other as far as from generation to generation, that some things are missing. Some things aren't just included in our everyday or growing up with our parents, our grandparents, nieces, and aunts, and uncles, as far as what they know, right?
Mhm.
And how can they bring it to the next generation if they're not knowledgeable about it? So, one of the things that I recognize that we all have, whether we come from any type of social background, is literacy, understanding how money works, how money grows, how you can navigate or be able to be wealthy or better off, and also passing that down to generations. Right now we're at a point where sometimes people think of not thinking about their future, right? So thinking about our future beyond the next paycheck or beyond the next month or each holiday is something that we don't get to embrace in culture, our kids and our other family members to do. So I think that lack of understanding that we need to pass that knowledge down is very important.
Why is the Black community in that space where there's an absence of financial literacy,
Well,
in your opinion or observation?
well, it has a lot to do with, education. Where did we have it in school? And of course, if it didn't start with us knowing from our ancestors how to save money, how to invest money, instead of keeping it to ourselves and making sure no one else takes it, um, we have to understand that there's more to it than just saving, right? There's more to it than just spending. Going on vacation, it's great to do those things for sure, but we need to make sure we sustain that dollar, every time we earn it.
Right. Pinoy for Christ. He says, "Thank you for this." Well, we thank you for joining the show. And of course, there's a number on your screen just in case you have questions to ask Dr. Tonya Martin. King to Tom, thanks for joining us. Mansa, Lemon Bay, it's nice to have you on the show. Regina, once again, yeah, you guys can feel comfortable to send your questions if you have questions, and if you're catching up after the show, you can always put in your questions and I'll pass them on to Dr. Tonya Martin. Um, but Tonya, when we talk about vacation and all that and living your life to the fullest, you said, well, that's fine, but it's good to save for the future. It's good to leave things for the next generation and all that. So what if people will assume, like, what if they think they're going to live long and they're saving the money for when they're 80 and they die young? So what happens?
What happens?
You
Well,
know, it can't, why can't I spend my money now and live to the fullest? And I want to save, I want to keep saving and investing till I'm old or whatever.
well, it's a lack of, you have to plan,
Okay.
right? You have to, certain things you do, if you, what they say, you plan, you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you don't plan, then those things will fall into the hands of people that you may not know.
Right.
One of the things we talk about is estate planning, right? Making sure that those things that you are saving for, that you are, hoping to put away, is in a safe place that you have control over,
Right.
versus the courts making decisions about what you worked for all your life to give to whoever they deem fit. So there's a lot of things that we, I guess, educate that doesn't include just saving and spending, but also about securing your future through estate planning, making sure. And you don't have to. This is one thing too. You don't have to have a lot of money to have an estate.
Okay.
Right? You don't have to have millions of dollars to be able to say, well, I want to do this with my money. If for something happens to me, where does this go? Who do I want this particular piece to be in control? Who I want to be in control with this? Because what happens is, I know people who have dealt with probate. Sometimes that's an evil word for people who dealt with having things go through probate because someone in their family died and they had a house, they had a little savings, and they didn't have a will, they didn't have an estate planned. So all of those things, when you die, if you didn't know, if you do have a will, it kind of tells all the creditors, hey, this person died. Who wants to claim what they are owed? So if you don't have something in place to stop those people, then anyone can go and say, well, they owe me $500. They say that I could have this house,
Right.
so
People come with their knives to have a slice of
yes,
the. Okay.
yes. So there are ways to control that.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know until it's too late and they're struggling with, oh man, I'm going through probate. It could take years
Mm.
and it costs money. So that's just, one little portion of being able to control your finances beyond savings and spending.
Let me backtrack a little bit. And before I jump into other details, let's talk about the importance of financial literacy in building generational wealth, with emphasis on generational wealth now?
Mhm. So, knowing where each dollar goes, knowing how to plan for your future and the future of if you have kids, if you have a business, by the way, we're not just talking about human generational wealth,
Yeah.
but, passing on your business. A lot of people look at billionaires
Right.
and, people who they see in the media that say, oh man, how did that kid becoming $1 million baby or a trust baby,
Yeah.
trust fund baby. And those are things that you have to put together in order to build that wealth.
Yeah.
We've all, or we haven't all, but we've noticed that where's all the wealth? Where do we find the wealth when we think about being wealthy? Is it in the Black community? Do we teach ourselves? It's a common thread for other cultures, white in particular, to teach their kids to have a life insurance policy, have something to pass on to their children or their grandchildren. Whereas in the Black community, most of the time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's pretty much 90% of the time we've seen this, especially in current population, that we don't even think about passing things on, right? We don't think about, oh, I need to do this in order to keep that legacy going, to not make sure that the next generation isn't as poor as I was, right? To make sure that we are building that foundation so that the next generation doesn't have to deal with that. So we're teaching, leading by example for sure, to make sure that we don't end up continuing a generational curse of being poor.
What if people ask, if I work hard for the next generation, am I not preventing them from facing life the way it is to build something and be responsible? What do you think?
You say when
What if people ask themselves, like there's a question like, okay, what if I say I'm building generational wealth, I'm leaving things for the next generation? Am I not putting them in a position of laziness where because they met wealth, they're not, you know,
well they have
they're not responsible,
mm,
they're not taking charge over life because they met money.
mhm. Well, putting safeguards in place to make sure that they don't, not appreciate it is something too. With estate planning, you can't put stipulations on when they get money, how they get money. For instance, oh, I left my grandchild $25,000. So in your estate plan, you can say, well, they can't receive this money until they finish college, or they can't receive this partial money until they have completed 2 years of something. So you can put stipulations on that so that
Right.
they can not think, oh well, I'm just going to wait until I'm 25, not do anything because I know this money's coming, or I know this, I'm going to receive this part of the business. So most of the time people put things in place so they will learn from it and know that it's important enough to pass down to their generation.
Right. We have a question coming from your friend. She says, okay, Meg. She says, hey, Latoya, Meg here. Where do you start if you have more bills than paychecks? And that's a question from Meg.
When you have more bills and paychecks, well, first off, you have to just have some discipline because they're not going anywhere, right? It's the bills you made, might as well just own up to it. We all have some things that we've done, we've collected, and it's lesson learned. You don't want to just, give up and never think you can get out of the hole, because you always can start somewhere, right? From the little things, you can, start to pay off. There's debt planning um programs that you can do, right? It's going to take time. A lot of people think that they can just get out of debt just from taking a loan out. Well, you just took a loan out to pay for a debt. That's another debt.
It's like using debts to take care of debts.
Right. And
Okay.
we don't want to do that. We want to eliminate that, right? And not have to work from paycheck to paycheck. I actually met with someone a couple of weeks ago. We went through, their finances and income. She didn't know that she had so much cash flow because she didn't see it. Right. So I sit down with people and sit down and put all everything on the table, because if you don't write it out, you don't see it. So we put everything out on the table. And she realized, oh my God, where's that money? Right? Where's the money that you say I have here? Good tracking, good record keeping of how you spend money, where things are going, and also a plan. You have to make a plan in order to follow through with it
Right.
in order to pay those things off, because eventually it'll resolve itself for sure.
Okay. So, how can people begin to take baby steps first towards getting out of debt?
Like I said, start with seeing what you have,
Mm.
right? Knowing where you are financially.
Right.
What's your income? What are your bills? Write them all down from penny to penny, not estimating, right? Because a lot of people underestimate because they don't want to admit that that's how much they're paying on something.
Right.
So write it all down. Meet with someone like me, a financial advisor, financial professional, who can actually sit down and make a plan out for you, to be able to follow through with. I call it accountability, right? A lot of people just like exercise. Some people need an accountability partner to get through, go to the gym every day. Like me, I need an accountability partner in order to say, okay, I got to get it. Just like the finances, accountability. Where are you now? Did you spend this on this? Move this over here. So it's just a lot of different steps that you could put into place to be able to facilitate that plan and have someone follow you through to get successful. You can always, it's like a coach, right? You need somebody to cheer you on to know that you can do it, because when you do that, you will always continue to feel like you can and move forward.
Well, I'm going to take a brief break for two reasons. So I can let you breathe because this is a lot. And when we come back, we'll be talking about some of the practical steps that families, can, or even individuals can take to build wealth and to start to build a strong financial foundation. Because from what you're saying, it's possible. And I've read about other people who say it's possible, even when they're saying it from a zero level and they made it happen. So let me take a brief break and I'll play the music of a friend, a rare breed from Canada. He's from Manitoba, Winnipeg, and he has a song in native Nigerian language that says Atakwata Dide. It means somebody who rose from the rocks. We're talking about humble beginnings, and the song is very apt for what we're discussing. His name is Ashiru Adeleke, and he's based in Canada. This is a song so I can sip my coffee as well. And what? And I'll be right back. And maybe Tonya wants to, sip her water too. But let's take a brief music break, and I'll be back with you.
Atapata dìde súnmọ́ bí. Atẹ̀rọ̀fọ̀ dìde súnmọ́ bí. Orúkọ yóò ó máa jẹ́ o, ó máa jẹ́ o. Orúkọ yóò kò sọ ẹ́. Ibi kan ṣáá láti jáde wá o. Dandan ibi kan ṣáá la máa tẹ̀dọ̀ sí. Ṣùgbọ́n owó ọ̀wẹ́ ò tó. Má fi gàngàn fáwọn lẹ̀mí mímọ́ wí. Mo ní ilẹ̀ láti kọ̀ kì í ṣẹgbẹ́ ilé ta ti kọ́ rárá. Màkàn ṣàlòyé kan. Ìyẹn ni pé oyè tó kára wò ó máa padà wá kan ara ẹ̀ tẹ́. Àmọ́ ìbẹ̀rù Olúwa mi ìlẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ọmọ o. Mo mọ rírì ẹ̀mí mímọ́, ẹ̀mí mímọ́, ẹ̀mí Ọlọ́run, ẹ̀mí òtítọ́. Ọmọ aráyé ò lè mọ̀, orí wọn ò fojú rí, wọn ò fọwọ́ kàn ó, àmọ́ àwa mọ̀.
The music of Ashiru Adeleke Atapata Dide, talking about days of humble beginnings, which is very apt as far as this episode of All These Things is concerned. We have another brother joining us. His name is Shegun Oluwayomi, one of the most fantastic and authentic gospel artists from Nigeria. Almost 25, 30 years experience, in the journey of music. And it's interesting that Shegun Oluwayomi actually played the saxophone on 2 or 3 of my debut of songs on my debut album. That was in the late 90s. My first album, he played the soprano sax on like 3 of my songs. And I'll never forget those sweet melodies he played. Shegun Oluwayomi, it's nice to have you on the show. And your friend Tonya Meg says, I need to know it's possible, and we just sent a message to her. Like I said, Tonya will help.
Yes.
And I also told her that she can call 216-490-0011, rather than text. If you have access to your phone and this number, you can call and ask those questions. And Tonya can set you up, to meet with her, or she can set up a phone call, whichever way she can make it happen. It's still all those things on Rest Africa FM, and we're doing financial literacy talks with Dr. Tonya Martin, who is the CEO of Bamboo Financial Services, which is a passionate financial literacy platform or company. And she's an advocate of financial literacy. She's also a nurse practitioner, nurse educator, who also has a commitment to empowering individuals and communities. And remember, like I said at the beginning of the show, that Dr. Tonya specializes in helping people to make informed financial decisions and help build a strong financial future, as far as any community, any demographic is concerned.
Oh, yeah.
As far as you're at the point where you're earning money and you want to know how to plan your money so that you either don't suffer in old age, or the people after you do not suffer as a result of the decisions you took or didn't take while you were doing well or while you were alive. Let's move the show forward. Omolua, we don't know where you're calling from. We don't know where you're actually reaching out from on Instagram, but could you just type in where you're reaching out from and your real name? It's nice to have you join us on the show. Tonya, I said before the music break that I was going to ask you, what are some of the practical steps that families and individuals can take to build wealth and also to start to build a strong financial foundation?
Yeah. So, the first thing is know where you are financially, right? Know what your assets, your liabilities, like I talked about before, as far as mapping those things out, what's coming in, what's going out. Second thing, if you don't have insurance, right? If you don't have life insurance, I would beg that you venture into getting insured and getting your family insured, because there are vehicles, there are ways that you can start to build, save money through your life insurance. Okay. Now, I always tell people you don't have to be on your deathbed to get life insurance, right? First of all, they won't insure you if you're on your deathbed. So it's always good to think about, making sure that your financial foundation that you're protecting, whether it's your kids, whether it's your house, whether if something happens to you, whether you cannot work anymore, whether have something, you lose your job, the other person in the household isn't around anymore or can't contribute. What is going to sustain you through this financial crisis?
Right.
Because once you have that crisis, that could end up being a kind of like a snowball effect into getting into worse financial issues, right? So you want to make sure you protect your foundation and build from that foundation. And we have to understand that, building wealth takes time, right? It also takes money. So can't build wealth without money, time and money. But we also have to think about what we call the rate of return. A lot of people don't think of interest rates until they have to pay them, right? Or either it's part of a bill, a contract. But we can have positive interest rates or rate of return, and we can have negative rate of return. Okay. So knowing those things, and also inflation and taxes, that is called the wealth formula. Okay. Time, money, positive or negative rate of return, inflation and taxes. What are we always going to have? Inflation and taxes, right? Our dollar is not worth what it is when we put it into the bank, right? Because inflation and taxes are going to take part of that dollar. So we have to remember that when we're saving. We have to remember that when we want to be able to grow our money and think about the rate of return. We need to find something that we put our money in that will give us something back without us having to work for it. That's the rate of return. Okay. So those are some of the things that we need to put into our formula, into our thinking of, okay, how can I build this foundation?
Can you speak more on life insurance?
Mm.
Can you break it down? Because a lot of people, in the Black community, especially from Africa, will be like, "Oh, here they come! They're trying to sell me insurance, and insurance, and the first thing they want to do is avoid helping me when I need them, and all that, just taking my money." Could you talk more about life insurance,
Sure.
the benefits, the derivable benefits from life insurance?
So the first thing I always tell people is, do you know what type of policies there's out there, right? Because there's different, like we said, there's vehicles, there's benefits to having life insurance. Life insurance is not always about when you die.
Right.
It's about life. It's insurance for life.
Right.
And like I said before, some of the things that you experience in life, like job loss, health issues, actually they have life insurance that covers those things when you run into those problems. So you don't have to die to get benefits from life insurance.
Oh.
I know that one of the things that I just thought life insurance was for the people to help bury me and leave a little bit behind when I die.
Can you break it down more? You said something that is really interesting, like you don't have to die to benefit from your life insurance.
Right.
Can you break it down? How does it work?
Right. So, you have different types of life insurance. Term life insurance, whole life insurance, and index universal life insurance.
Right.
And those products sometimes have what they call living benefits attached to it.
Right.
A rider. Usually people have riders to their life insurance policies. And some of those riders include if you get sick, right?
Okay.
If you can't work, if you can't do 2 of the 6 activities of daily living, you can tap into, or your insurance company will let you tap into those funds to help pay for those situations where it costs money to get you out of that hole because you're not working anymore. You can't do what you're supposed to do to make ends meet before. So there's different types of insurance policies that can help with that. It's called the cash value, where you can take loans. You can take loans or withdraw from your life insurance policy if it builds cash value. Okay, so for instance, I'm going to give you an example of things people hear. Oh, I just paid for my daughter's wedding. It was $30,000. And you're like, how the heck did somebody pay $30,000? They had a life insurance policy that they borrowed the cash value off of, or they withdrew it. If you have a $500,000 life insurance policy, $30,000 off of that is not a lot. So
Okay.
those options are there because you are the owner of that policy. So it's a lot of information and education on those types of vehicles and how people build wealth.
Well, if you're able to come up with a response to this, I'd appreciate. If not, it's fine. How long do people have to have a life insurance policy to be able to have this benefit you're talking about? Like, you sign up, you're putting down like $100, $200 a month, and how long do you have to go in that life insurance policy to be able to access such benefits?
Okay, so it depends on how much you're putting in, right? Because if I'm putting in $50 a month, that's what I would say. How much is that? 3,000? No, not even 3,000
How much a
a
month?
year. $50 a month.
$50 a month.
Right.
That is
that's
$600 in
a year. Think about it. I'm not going to pull out 30,000 in 10 years because I haven't even saved that much. It costs money to have an insurance policy, right? But when you get to the point of 5, 10 years, 15 years, the point is not to get the insurance policy for that reason, right?
Okay.
The life insurance is for protecting those things that you need to cover in case life happens, in case there's a death in the family. The people you take care of or the things that you are going to be protecting financially. If something happens to you, it is a coverage for those things to be taken care of, right? So we don't say use it for the cash value, but it's there for you to use, right? But it's not sold as that way. Okay. So and also you have to thinking about the people who's built wealth. Rockefellers, McDonald's. There's big names if you look them up on the internet that used a policy to get where they need to be to start them off. And you can look it up. McDonald's. Just see how McDonald's started. McDonald's. What money? Disney. Walt Disney. How did he start Disney World? Because he couldn't get a loan from the bank. So, and these people had those policies already in place. So guess what? They were taught. Their parents had something. And so you see how it continues to show up generation wise and cultural wise, how those benefits we didn't even know about. We just knew that insurance policy, when I die, this is what happens.
Do people have, to die to enjoy the full benefits of their life insurance?
Well, no. No. Let's say the full benefits. Now, if you are terminally ill, sometimes there's certain policies where if you're terminally ill, right, that means you have so many months to live. Doctor has deemed you as not being, leaving so much. Some people say, well, I guess I have to wait until after I'm gone before the family can use the money.
Right.
Well, there are riders, right, that will let you tap into that before you go.
Right.
So yeah, just it's a matter of discussing your personal plan.
Okay.
Because everyone's not the same. They may not need the same coverage. They may not need the same riders. And one thing I want to mention, everyone is not qualified to get insurance.
I get it.
So a lot of people do tend to think that oh, I'll just go get an insurance policy. Not that easy. Now, they do have the guaranteed, guaranteed issuance, but it's only for a certain amount, right? And you have to be alive for 2 years before it even starts to have any benefit. So, just to give some insight in that.
So, what if people jump into this life insurance thing
Mhm.
and 2, 3, 5 years down the line, life happens and they're not able to keep up with what they should be doing?
Mhm.
Do they lose what they have, or how does it work?
No. So some of the things that you can count on with policies, and you want to make sure this is in your policy, is that they have what they call minimum no lapse payments, or you've paid enough into your policy where your policy can pay for itself for a while and still keep it active.
And then you can catch up later.
Yes, yes. You use what has grown, like that cash value, to pay the premium that you've lost because you couldn't do it before. So there's protective ways to just say, oh, don't give up on your
Right.
policy. Don't ever cancel it because you can't pay. Talk to the financial advisor or the company before you make that decision.
Yeah, because I know some people might be like, okay, what if I can't pay anymore and I stand the risk of losing everything I've put in so far? So it means that what you have already is enough to, as a backup to help you stay active until you can catch up.
Exactly.
That's how it works.
Exactly.
Oh,
But
wow.
you also have to communicate that now. We can't, no one knows that you lost your job. No one knows that you can't work or are disabled, for that time.
Right.
So definitely communication.
Now, speaking of financial literacy, which is, the core of this conversation, what are some of the steps that people can take to improve their financial literacy? Because I noticed that, across the spectrum, literacy in any direction of life is important. What you don't know, you can't take advantage of, and you can improve yourself with it. And I noticed that financial literacy is hardly taught in schools,
Right.
So what are some of the steps that people can take to improve their financial literacy?
Well, first thing is you can come to my workshops. That's
Okay.
one thing. I'll do free workshops. You know, there are now I have looked on, TikTok and Instagram and noticed that there are people out there who are giving tidbits, little short blurbs about what you need to know. And it also depends on where you want to focus your literacy on, because part of learning, people are more excited about things that fits them, is talking about them, right? There's people who want to do, market. There's people who want to understand insurance. There's people who want to understand, just being able to live day to day without debt. So I would definitely say, find a workshop or a program that you feel is going to focus on what you want and what you need. But also, again, I do financial literacy workshops, whether you have a group, a Girl Scout. We could start from the little kids. It starts from them. They may not need to know about life insurance, but they may need to know about saving and what's the value of a dollar and how does your dollar move through the years of depreciation because of taxes and inflation, so they can better understand how to spend their money when they make it and not feel so like it's, money grows on trees.
That's right.
So I encourage people to, do those types of things. Get groups of people together. You teach a village, they spread the word. I always say I plant a seed so that it can be sent to all the other people to grow.
Right.
So, I start with myself, I do home BP, we call them BPMs, home, bring the people
Okay.
to the meeting, or bring the meeting to the people. So things like that. So I'd be happy to facilitate that.
And Meg says on Instagram, she says, I never knew this. I have the knowledge, but not the discipline. And that's where you talked about discipline. She says, these workshops are developing my willingness to become disciplined. Very good. My background is loud. Sorry, couldn't call. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, you're engaging with us right here, and that's beautiful. And she says, example, the hospital cafeteria. I can pack a lunch, but use my employee badge to get food anyway. I don't see the harm until I get my paycheck.
Right.
Mm,
Right. That's that invisible money, that card where you can swipe it anywhere and
yeah.
don't realize it. So it's hard. It is difficult because I know I am a victim of doing those things too. But when I ran into a friend of mine who did, how did I get interested? Was I was like, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, I don't have insurance. I'm up there in age. I won't say what I am. But what I thought too is that I have insurance through my job. That's a huge thing that I tell people. You have insurance through your job. Do you plan on dying at your job
mm.
in order to use that insurance? So the job has control. They're the owner of that policy. Okay. And they have stipulations on that policy and those payments. If you have your own personal policy, you are in control of that. So that is a huge thing I tell people. How many times have you changed jobs? That policy went with that job.
Ooh.
So that right there, yes, keep it. It's what, $10 a month? Go ahead and keep it. But I would definitely recommend get your own personal policy that you manage.
Speaking of cultural mindset, what role does it play in breaking generational curses around finance? You know.
Well, the mindset of, you know, paycheck to paycheck, every 2 weeks I get paid, and that's all. It's to pay bills and to have a little fun here and there. But we have to change that mindset to go beyond what we hope to accomplish when we get that paycheck, right? Pay yourself first. I always tell people, pay yourself first and then worry about the other things.
Okay, what does that mean?
Take
In,
out
in,
that
in basic
and
language.
take out that money. You get paid just like you pay a bill. You're a bill. You pay your cell phone bill. You are. It's just as important as that cell phone bill. Put some money aside. Pay yourself first. Because, you get insurance for your car, right? Why you can't get insurance for yourself? You are the most valuable asset, not material things. Because if something happens to you, then everything else falls to the wayside, right? So paying yourself first means, put some money aside to say this is for me, whether it's for your future, immediate future, or for your future 20 years from now. Mindset wise, we have to start thinking about 30, 40 years from now, no matter how old you are, because we're living longer. Social Security, is up in
Not
the
so
air.
guaranteed, yeah.
It's up in the air, and we're say, oh, we're gonna work and we're gonna retire and have our Social Security check, and maybe our 401k.
When we talk about to be rich and wealthy, people say, well, they mix the two. They
Yeah.
talk about being rich and being wealthy. What's the difference? And which one should we rather pursue?
Well, I'd rather pursue being wealthy because it lasts longer. That's when we talk about generations passing that, keeping it to the point where it's so solid that one little dip in a job loss or layoff is not going to affect my wealth stream, my financial stream. Being rich is instant. Being rich is for the moment. It's not about 20, 30 years from now. You can win the lottery and be rich, but you be wealthy by investing that money to make sure that money lasts longer. So,
wow, that is something really, really liberating there. Uh, and Meg says, I want to be wealthy for generations. And of course, that is the way to go, according to um, Dr. Tonya right here. You want to make sure you pursue the path of wealth than the path of riches.
Mhm.
Tell us about your workshops.
So usually they're about an hour long. Attention spans we get, but it's so much information that I break them down to a general financial literacy 101, but then I break out into different things like how to review your policy, insurance policy. What does the rule of 72 mean? Which you guys look it up. Uh, the wealth curve, or how do you estate planning. So there's different topics that is a whole big uh, comprise financial wellness and financial literacy. But I do them every so often. I'm trying to be more consistent. I do them virtual and I do them in person. I do have a summit actually coming up next Saturday, November 15th. It starts at 11:30 registration, and it's about all the things that I talked about today. We're gonna have wine tasting at 2U.
That makes me want to come.
Yeah.
That makes me want to come.
But and the interesting thing is, I also like to support Black businesses in our community. And this particular venue, 2U Wines and Winery and Event Space, Nakia Hudson, she's the owner, but she's also a winemaker. So it's her brand, it's her wine she make, and she's the first Black female in Northeast Ohio to make wine. So I think it's a special place to be, a special place for us to not only support each other, but also to share, with each other how we can actually be successful with this financial thing, because we don't want to be left behind. There's a wealth gap out there, right? And guess who's at the bottom?
Cool.
Who is the Black community. The Black community is at the bottom. We need to raise it up. We need to do what we need to do. And part of that is knowing what you need to do. So if I can have any type of part in that, I'm happy to do that.
And when are we gathering there?
Saturday, November 15th, 11:30 to 3:30. We're going to have lunch. We're going to have wine. And we're going to have some national speakers. Part of it is a virtual broadcast from my partners all over the country and Canada. So we try to get together to educate everyone. We want to educate 30 million people by 2030. So I want people to be a part of that.
Are there some people, like examples of people who were rich but didn't die wealthy?
Yes, actually, I know everyone knows Chadwick Boseman. A Black Panther.
Yeah, who died of pancreatic
cancer.
Yeah.
Well, remember that probate I talked about? His estate went to probate because he didn't have estate planning in place. So probate costs money, right? So instead of what we see on TV, we see the reading of the will, that it doesn't happen that simple, right? We see it on TV. Oh, they got a will. It doesn't work like that. You do have to have an estate, a trust in place in order for your financial wellness or wealth to be distributed how you want it to be. Okay. Cash App guy, the guy who discovered or made Cash App.
Yeah.
He was killed. I'm learning these things too. He was killed, and he didn't.
That's Bob Lee.
Bob Lee.
Yeah.
Yes. He actually had to have a GoFundMe put together to help
for the founder of Cash App.
For the founder of Cash App. That Cash App everyone has on their phone. So you think, well, you don't have to be, again, wealthy to not be educated, right? So we have to start somewhere. And, you think those people had people working with them to make sure that those things were in place. But, you are young. You don't think you're going to be gone that soon, right? Oh, I'll worry about it later. Well, I mean, it's something to put into place just to say and kind of walk with your chest up a little bit. I'm covered, you know. So not to say something's going to happen to you, right? A lot of people
Right.
you don't want to talk about it because they think something's going to happen,
Yes.
but it's good to have.
I want to thank Yinka Kukoyi, all the way from Illinois, who just joined on the show. Uh, and also, Meg says such good information. I mean, to me, that is like an understatement. Dr. Tonya has given me so much to go sleep over, think about deeply, and to adjust, some things about my personal life. And it's interesting. We've done almost 50 minutes, and I still have more questions. I want to ask about the rule of 72. I want to ask about estate planning. I want to talk about trust. I have some people who talk about, oh, I just discovered something about trust, to put your things on the trust and all that. So I would say that you do us the honor of coming more often to talk about stuff like this and educate people. There can never be a saturation of information when it comes to financial literacy, because sometimes we are literate in some areas, but we're ignorant in others, you know. And I would say, if you give us this commitment, come,
Yeah.
every now and then, and educate people through this platform about these things. It doesn't matter how old you are, as long as you get into that productive age in your life and you start earning money, no time is too early, no time is too late.
Right.
Well, sometimes are too late. Like, you
Yeah.
don't want to be terminally ill, for
Right.
instance, to realize you need
Right.
things like this.
Right.
But I think we need to do more deep dives into things like this. And if you're catching up on this broadcast, wherever you see this video, could you be kind enough to share? Because this is almost like a couple chapters in a book that people can listen
yeah.
to, and it gives them the awakening they need in their lives. My guest on the show has been Dr. Latonya Martin, uh, a nurse, of great repute, an educationist who has helped a lot of people along, their academic educational path, who is now taking up the challenge of delving into the world of financial literacy and support and advocacy for people to be able to make more beneficial decisions, in their lives, and it's never too late to reach out to this delectable guest of mine, who always is a blessing whenever she comes into the space. Tonya, thank you so very much for coming. And I'm going to put together, things about estate, questions on estate planning, on the rule of 72, trust. I am personally interested in that. And of course, to let people know what are the steps towards integrating with you to be able to find their desired paths and their desired outcomes at the end of the day. Thank you so very much for joining us on the show, and I hope I get to see you soon again.
Sure will.
Very soon.
Sure will.
And I'm going to check my schedule to, to make sure I come to that.
Yes.
I don't want to
event,
call it wine
yes.
tasting now, because it's going to seem like that's the reason I'm coming. Well, it's a part of it.
Fine wine
It's
and
part of it.
financial literacy.
Yeah,
That's
and
what's
financial
up.
literacy. So two things in one package. And don't forget, for more information, you can send a DM. You can, if you have more questions, you can send a DM to Red Africa FM. We're going to pass your questions to Dr. Tonya Martin. And once again, I want to thank Biodun Anifowoshi from Lagos, Nigeria, Regina Lane from Maple Heights, Mansa Lemon Bay from Cleveland, Peanut for Christ, that is Meg. Thanks for joining us. King to Tom, thanks for joining us. I want to thank who else? Shegun Luwayomi, I believe from Texas. Omo Luwa, I think from the United Kingdom, I think. And of course, Yinka from Illinois. I want to thank all you guys, and those of you who are still going to catch up on the video. Don't forget to share. You definitely will be helping someone out there. My name is Oluwatoyin Ojeyomi, the one you know as Papa T, and by God's grace, the chief representative of the rare breed community of Rest Africa FM, saying peace, love, and blessings. Have a wonderful weekend, and bye for now.